So welcome everybody. I am inviting you in. Kris and I are inviting you into session 2 of our book coaching. And today we're going to talk about chapter 1, what we want in there and how we're going to work on this moving forward. So welcome, Kris.
Hi, Juliet. Yay, moving forward with your book.
I'm excited.
Yeah, very cool.
So what's the first step here?
Okay, well, remind me what we had decided for our first chapter. You're going to introduce.
That's right. I just had to send up your, hold on, let me go back to it here. I just had it open because I just put it in the Dropbox for you.
Oh,
let's see. We were going to, let's see. I went way too far. Client work, Kris book. So we discussed last time that we were going to, oh, that's the video. Whoops. Hey. Oh, I didn't put my little thing behind me. That's so bad. Okay, so we were going to jump into chapter 1, the journey. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm actually writing that and you're cleaning it up. So we're actually starting on chapter 3 here. Because the first 2, I think, or the first 3, which were the journey, what, I should have known better. Chapter 2, the vicious cycle nonfiction authors face and how this will. So we'll write that when we come back. So chapter 3 here is going to be niche audience messaging.
Niche audience messaging. Okay. Yes. So it seems like we want to start with, well, most people, I think, in this world have heard of what a niche audience means, but I still think there's a lot of confusion about people identifying their niche audience. I can't tell you how many people say, but everybody needs my book. Yeah, okay, that may be true, but it doesn't serve you. So what do you think about starting out with what is a niche audience? Because remember, the main thing to remember with a book is that there is no way that you can pack all the information that you have from all of your experience and all of the things you've learned into one book. So we want to go as basic as we can and people who know that, they'll just kind of jump over that. They'll just jump over that chapter if they need to. Or they might remind themselves, but for those who are kind of starting to feel their way and are finding you and are kind of like, wait a minute, my books aren't selling and I need to do something, and they find you, we need to get down to so what is a niche audience?
Okay.
And how do you identify it? And why is it, and number 1, of course, why is that important to you as an author?
Okay, so start out with the niche. What is it and why is it important?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and then go into how you identify. So what we're working off of, I think I've got that written already in the action guide that I gave you. So that should be really easy. We also have some exercises in there that they can do. So like one of them is crafting an email of gratitude. So now that you've found that niche audience, crafting that email so that you know and they know how much you appreciate finding them. So I think that's really important. And then, like you said, getting into that primary market. This is going to be a really good lesson for authors who are business people too, because that's the number 1 failure out there for businesses is I didn't identify my niche audience. And a lot of times that's why nonfiction or why business people write books is because they're excuse me, my nose is itching. It's because their programs and services aren't selling because they're targeting an audience that's too broad.
It's too broad, right.
Okay,
right.
Very cool. So yes, that's an excellent place to start with that. And I think you'll find what you need to get that written in the guide. So super, super easy. Creating a target market avatar. So one of the things here is they have to know what their mission and their movement is as well. They really do before they can identify that target market. So
what about a fun little exercise on creating their avatar? You know, like you can even go as far as like, is your avatar, is it male or female? What's the age group? You know, you can, like, it's like almost like creating a character in a book. You know, what age group is it? What income level is it? What, you know, all the things that go into an avatar. It could be a fun little thing where they create their own and you guide them through it.
I think I've got that here. It's a little bit more of a spiritual thing though, because it's really about taking time alone and sitting down and writing those questions. What's their deepest desire? What dreams haven't they fulfilled? Yes. What are they afraid of? What are they in denial? What keeps them up at night? What might stop them from completing their book? Those are kind of all huge things. And then really getting down into them understanding psychographics and demographics and filling in those pieces as well.
That's excellent.
But what I love at the end that I think we should add, and let me make a big note here, is adding in, doing a picture, an image. So of their, once they put that together. So I have Kathy, which was one of my clients actually went to a cartoonist, an illustrator, and had Kathy drawn.
Oh.
So she has this picture. How this benefits people is she has this picture on her wall, which I sort of have a picture over here. I don't want to share this board because there's a lot of other stuff on it too. It's got my dream man over there too, so I don't want to get too particular with this. I use vision boarding for a lot of things, but what it does is when you're putting it down in front of you, you know, I feel like, or I used to feel like when I got off the phone and I was selling someone a product and they said no, I felt that rejection really deeply. And once I got my avatar on the wall, I could really like detach and objectively say to myself, was that person, you know, 35 to 65? Was it a woman? What were their goals? What were, you know, I could go through the checklist and I could really in a detached way say to myself, that wasn't really my ideal client. So why did I spend the time talking to them? Which I think is what's really helpful about the assessment is that, you know, you get an idea very quickly. Do you want to talk to this person? Are they your ideal client?
Yes. Very good point.
So,
yeah. So helping your readers understand that right there, what you just said, that it's better to let go of the ones that are not for you, that are not part of your tribe, that are not the right fit for you, which then in turn opens you up to receive those that are.
Yes.
And why waste your time beating your head against a wall with people who don't get it, who don't want, and in some respects just don't want to get it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, let them read your book, and if they don't like it, they don't have to read your book.
So I'm going to share a story here, since we have people watching, about a mutual client we almost had. That came on, and he had a very fixed way of what he thought he needed to do. And it turned out that I ended up letting him go as a client. I didn't want to work with him. You ended up not wanting to work with him. And when his book came out, he had a lot of testimonials, but by all intents and purposes, he had spent over $100,000 getting this book written, a screenplay written. Like there were so many mistakes that were made in the course of that book that his book really didn't sell. And when he came into talking to us, he told us that there were over 1 million readers waiting for this book. And yet that turned out to not be true because of all the mistakes that he made along the way. Mm-hmm. And what was fabulous about that is you and I made a decision that we weren't going to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And our businesses thrived because of it. He was sucking up so much of our time with the things that were ego-driven instead of audience-driven.
Exactly. That, and for all of our viewers that are watching us here who are wanting to write books, that is the essential key for everything you do in your business and in your writing, is it has to be about them. It's about your audience. It's not about, oh, look at me, I'm writing a book and oh, I know all this stuff. It's about how can I share something of value to you that will help you make a transformation in your life. And that's key in everything. So yeah, yes. And
so
writers struggle with that.
As part of this, we're going to have to bring the assessment marketing in, because that's really where you get to be in the listening mode of your potential audience. And that's super important, because one of the big failures that occurs is that people write books that they think their audience needs without really that communication factor and validation. So there's a lot of different pieces here when you're putting this together, just like there is with the product, that you not only need validation of your audience, but you need product validation as well. So yes, this is only a book, but for a lot of people who are writing the book, they're going to spend a lot of money on this book, between the platform building, the book, the publication, and the publicist that they really need, all of those 4 people that they need to have, marketing people, because you need funnels built. When you're putting this kind of money out, this is just like when you go to investors and they want to validate your audience. They want to validate your product. It's exactly the same thing. And, even though you're saying I'm going to use it as a business card, sometimes it doesn't work out that way when it's not the right book. It doesn't end up being the right business card either. So that's super important. So we're going to have to incorporate that in. But I think the second part is really digging deep into, you have the program for this as well, into articulating their mission. Because if you don't have a really clear mission about where you're going and what your objectives are, that's really a problem too. Yes. So this chapter then is essentially, our focus of this chapter is for the reader to get very, very clear on who they want to reach and why they want to reach them and what they're going to do for them. Right? Isn't articulating your mission like, this is what I'm going to offer to help these people in my field. So who are your readers? But there's a bigger piece to this too. Who, I'm writing this down as we're going. What is your mission? And really having solid outcomes to that mission. But even further, I think what we need to get into here are really qualities. This is leading into the branding piece. So we need to get really clear on who we are as well. Yes. So I'm kind of torn here, because in chapter 1, getting clear about who your book is for, I think I want to break it up a little differently than the action guide I gave you, and maybe go into assessment marketing right away, how you assess and validate that audience, and then put the second part of it, which is the really deep dive into yourself, into the branding. Does that make sense? Well, yes, but I would like to, in terms of writing a book, many times the process of writing, you almost write these pieces, and organizing comes later. Okay. So I would suggest that we not get too locked into where we're going to put things right now, that we just get it down and how you want to present the material, and we can organize it all later with, okay, so this makes sense to go here, and this makes more sense to move up here, and because it's all part of the process. That's kind of a natural thing. It just, you go. And if you, and the reason that I say that is because I don't want to get blocked. I don't want you to get blocked by all of a sudden like, well, wait a minute, where does this go? And what does this go? At this point, it's kind of not really that important. It's more important that we get it down. Okay. What you want to communicate, and then we can organize how, in what order, and what way you want to communicate that later. Does that make sense? Yeah. I don't want to get blocked totally in. Yeah, I don't want to get blocked in how it's going to be presented when we need to do the material first. Okay.
So, and I would like to back up a little on mission. The word mission, that's a word I think people get stuck on. I think a definition of what does that mean when you are identifying your mission and how you articulate that, and it's not only articulating it to other people, it's getting really clear in your mind what it is you are doing. So I think some work on that, like, okay, so what does that mean to have a mission, and how do you identify it, and help them work through a process of getting their mission statement.
Okay.
So that they can get real clear. It's all this section is about getting very clear so they can focus their marketing and all their work and everything else on the right audience and not waste their time on the wrong people.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So that can go in, and then validating all that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good.
Okay, that works for me, because I actually have a section in here that's already written that is, what breaks your heart about your industry or profession, because a lot of times that's, what pisses you off about your profession.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, because that's why we do what we do, is we've seen some disconnection in the marketplace that we think we can fill. Well, hopefully that's what people are doing, because if you're just like everybody else, it's not going to work.
Yes. And a little blurb about why you're special, and you are, feeling your differences are important. That is awesome, Julia.
Okay, that's cool. So that'll pretty much come together in a really good way with what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because so what do the people you serve desperately need?
Yes.
I think
that leads right into the assessment marketing. So, because the assessment marketing helps them find that out.
Yes. So I'm going to have to write a little bit more on assessments and validate. I mean, I've got that whole course that we can go through, but let me see what I can pull out of there. But I want to get more precise on it about what that looks like. And I don't know if this is a really good time to talk about that. Assessment marketing is the way that you make money with your book along the way. Because when we did the poll inside the Facebook group, that was one of the things that people talked about, was they wanted to know how to make money with their book along the way. And that assessment marketing, when your message is really clear, helps you drive people into planning and strategy sessions, which is your opportunity to be able to close them into programs and services.
Okay, so before anything else, they have to be clear. Okay. They have to be clear on themselves, and they have to be clear on their avatar. And then there's no reason why we can't go through assessment marketing and why this applies to getting to know your audience and what they really need, and fine-tuning. You can fine-tune your things by knowing that.
Right.
If you think, oh, this is what they need, and then nobody wants it, how can you change that to make it be what they need, And then later, too, refer back to assessment marketing.
Right.
We can go deeper into it when we get to that section that you just talked about. We can go deeper.
And here's the cool part in the book, too, is we can actually make an assessment that they take at the beginning of the book. And then create that so that going into it, they can already see where they're weak. Now, hopefully that doesn't mean that they skip over to those chapters, but I think it's really helpful, just like in my programs, where you take that assessment when you begin, and then you take that assessment at the end, because so many of us don't acknowledge how far we've actually come.
Yes.
So that might be something we would want to do in the book as an example as well.
Yes, because that is a great living example, because you're showing them that. And then they're also seeing it for themselves, and then they can go, oh yeah, my people would like that.
Oh yeah. And then they can go through the marketing assessment and see like what and how all of that works as well. Yeah. Okay. Cool idea.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's good. Awesome. We'll put it together, and then we'll move into the next piece.
Okay, that sounds really good. The next piece I think is going to be branding, and I've got that really, we've got to expand it out, because I did that really basic, and I want to get into more of the kind of the psychology, because I think people go and they look for, oh, these are my pretty colors and this is what I'm going to say. And they don't think about the subliminal underlying messages that are going out there. So, branding has to be super, super conscious.
That is really important. Yes. That probably should be a discussion for our next session, because we should go deep into that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So next month, I just wanted to let you know, next month, as we're going side by side on this too, we're actually going to have a Facebook Live training that is planning how to plan out the platform. And there's a little program they can purchase that gives them all the forms and stuff. And we're also going to do at the end of, I believe it's on July 26th, we're going to go through training on niche audience messaging as well. So
awesome.
So I think that'll go side by side with what we're doing as well, and offering a little bit of that so people can move right along with us, hopefully.
Yes. And I hope they do. I hope they hear and they kind of go along with us and move themselves into the process.
Yes.
There's nothing worse than feeling stuck.
No.
Oh, that is the worst feeling. Yes.
Yeah. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your community, because I know there are probably people on here that are actually writing a book that are in my platform building group that could really benefit. I love your group because you cover different topics and you have some really fun stuff. And I love the writing prompts when you're stuck and all of a sudden this, hysterical writing prompt comes up. Tell them where to find your group on Facebook too, so they can go.
Okay. Well, my Facebook group is called Crush Your Expert Book. And if you find it, it says Crush Your Expert Book. It's pretty simple, and just join. And there's a couple of simple questions just to kind of introduce yourself to us. And my group is pretty diversified. I have nonfiction writers, entrepreneurs, fiction writers, screenplay writers. There are certain things about writing that are kind of across the board, but there are other things that are very specific to the genre that you're writing in. So I try to get a nice balance between like what can work for everybody and then sometimes just talking specifically to my nonfiction writers or my fiction writers. So yeah, and I always welcome people to post if they're stuck or they have a dilemma or they need to post a little poll and get some feedback. I post a little poll for myself for a book I'm writing on a character name, and overwhelmingly I got the answer for my bully's name should be Flint. And so I named him Flint because I thought it was fun that my group overwhelmingly went for Flint.
That's so funny. Like Flint, Michigan, bullier of water. No.
Yeah. So, that kind of thing is fun, and I welcome my people to do things like that too. So yeah, please come on over. Crush Your Expert Book.
That's great. So you guys straddle between these two groups. You're going to see a little bit of stuff that's the same, but you're going to get more writing over there, more platform building over on my side. So very cool. Awesome. Thank you. And I'll see you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Juliet.
Bye.
Bye.